Welcome to Shared Folders Part 1. In this video I'm going to talk to you about shared folders and kind of give you the explanation of what's required to use them and some little nuances about them. And then in Part 2 we'll actually jump out into Workstation and share a folder and show you some of the nuances there. So for Part 1, let's talk about, first of all, to use a shared folder. And by shared folder we mean folders out on the host system that we want to access from within our guest system. We don't want to have to do copy and paste and stuff. We just want to reach across the network like we would with any other two machines on a network and grab resources. And we can do that by creating shared folders. So the requirements for this, first of all, you'll have to have VMware tools installed on your guest operating system, and your guest operating system must support shared folders. Now if you're running any of the Windows Server products, Windows 7, Vista, or XP as a guest OS, Windows NT 4, that's reaching way back there. That's back into the 90s. Then Windows 2000, if you're running Linux with a kernel version of 2.6 or later, Solaris x86 10 or later, then you're going to be good to go for sharing folders. Now, the actual shared folder operation allows you to create shared folders with one of two different options. Now there's the always enabled, and when you share a folder with always enabled, the folder sharing functionality is going to survive after you shut down the virtual machine, you suspend it, or you power it off. Now there is an option called enabled until next power off or suspend. This one's also known as temporary file sharing, and the file is shared only until a shutdown, a power off, or a suspend occurs. And once it comes back up, then that particular file is not shared any longer, and a VM restart won't affect it. But notice that a shutdown, a power off, or a suspend will. Now this is kind of a security thing. I need to access a folder on the host system. This lets me host it during this session, and then of course once I restart it goes away and it's not there for me anymore. Now the host system permissions must allow access. So you may run into some permissions issues that you'll have to chase down. The general rule is if you provide access to the user account that's running Workstation, you'll be okay. But there's all kind of ways for permissions to get crossed up here and to become confusing. So you may have to kind of bang on the side of permissions just a little bit to get what you need here. Now, one thing you want to watch for with shared folders, it's very easy to have a shared folder on your host machine and you're reaching in and grabbing a file and doing something to it on the host side, while at the same time from a virtual machine you're reaching into that shared folder and you're trying to work with the file. Now some applications will lock them and you can't get to them. However, just Murphy's Law kicks in. This particular one that you're using will allow two people to open it. They'll both make changes. You'll get corruption. Sometimes it'll damage the file, so just watch for that. Now all your shared folders will appear inside your guest OS in the normal network tools. But you got to be careful with this, because I'm going to show you in my demo in part 2 of this video. In my network places in Windows XP, it doesn't just show up there. You actually have to go set it up and make it appear. Network neighborhood or just network, whatever you normally use, whatever tool you use to see your shared folders is exactly what you're going to do in the guest to see what folders have been shared and which ones you have access to. Now one last couple of things here. Your shared folders can be accessed from inside your guest operating system just like any other share, and you can use a UNC path, and it's always going to take this shape. Two backward slashes or whack VMware-host, and you'll always have that. Then the words shared space folders slash, and then whatever the name of the share name that you created, and I'll demo that in part 2 as well. Now the shared folder properties can also be accessed or changed if you need to, and from within the VMware workstation you can go to the VM menu item, go to settings, options, and shared folders, and you can change properties or anything you want to in the shared folder, so you're not stuck with just what you do from the get-go here. So that's kind of the talk through on shared folders. This is a really neat functionality. Once you see this happen once and you start to use it, you're addicted. But this is a great way to work within a guest operating system. This is what I love about virtual computing. I can set up a guest operating system system to do test programming, to load trial versions, to load developer versions, and then just map it out to my host system to get the files I want or to save files. But I'm never really exposing my host system to the dangers of beta software or developer previews or any of that stuff. So anyway, enough about me. That's the rundown on shared folders. Join me in part 2, and we'll actually share a folder and you can kind of see how this looks and feels.